Hi guys, Brain here, and welcome to another commentary video. This one's kind of a trick title today because I'm going to be talking about tunneling being out of hand, which probably would make you assume that this video is going to be very much talked from a survivor's perspective and talking about how, like, I've been tunneled so many times in my survivor games lately and it's absolutely terrible and it needs to stop, but that's not the way we're going with this today. So let's all make fun of people down in the comments who don't actually watch the video and have already typed out the very, very long explanation about how, you know, the survivors have it easy and tunneling isn't out of hand, because we're going to be talking about how tunneling is more necessary than it's ever been, and ideas of changing DS actually scare me now, and just the general state of the game. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. So yeah, surprise. Tunneling is probably more necessary now than it's ever been in the history of Dead by Daylight. Why? Because I don't know if you guys have been playing Dead by Daylight lately, but survivors have gotten into a position where they are tremendously efficient. I think one of the things I notice most when I'm out there playing, and I have almost 6,000 hours in this game, which is not something to be proud of. Almost 6,000 hours in this game, and I think what I've noticed about survivors in 2024 and the late 2023 is what the big switch is that gen efficiency is through the roof. It's not about prove thyself, hyper focus, BNPs anymore. You know, people do bring those a lot. Gen efficiency in a macro sense has gotten very, very good just for the average survivor. Most average survivors know not to double up on gens as much. I was running Discordance a little bit in 2023 because I was trying a bunch of different builds out for Xenomorph, so I tried Discordance a bit. I know Otts put Discordance on his Xenomorph build when he, you know, when the character first came out. So I tried Discordance for a bit, and I barely ever got value out of that perk. I very rarely ever got value out of that perk, because survivors know now that generally they should be splitting up on gens. They shouldn't be grouping up, and if they're going to group up, they should do it later in the match. And if you're not bringing corrupt intervention, which deactivates if you down somebody too quick anyway. I love being punished for playing the game well. Thanks, behavior. Now you're in this situation where almost every survivor is playing in a way that kind of airs itself more to somebody who's on comm, somebody who has coordination. So as a result, even without the use of gen perks, without the use of egregious gen builds, gens are now getting done faster than ever before, which is funny because with the 6.10 update that happened a while back, they actually nerfed gens. They actually made gens longer to take to get done, and it doesn't seem to matter. It seems like survivors have essentially already made up the difference that it takes for gens to be made quicker, like to be finished quicker. Like, they've already made the difference. They've already out efficiency'd the nerf that had happened, which is funny because that's something we talk about a lot when we're comparing old DBD to new DBD, as a lot of the characters that are outdated and suck, they were made that way initially because when the characters first came out, survivors weren't as efficient, so you could get away with running more M1 killers or not having as much of an anti-chase power because of the survivors just weren't that good yet. We as a community of survivors weren't that good yet. Now the average survivor main generally knows how to play the game well, and especially when it comes to gen efficiency. So even though gens did get nerfed in a relatively recent patch, I know relatively recent with how long ago it was, but you know, very, very big change that happened fairly recently. People have already found a way around it. People have already out efficiency'd the gen problem. So what do you do? What do you do in this situation as the killer? Well, you tunnel, right? If they're going to speed the hooks, if they're going to gen rush, if they're going to rush the gens, you have to rush the hook states. And what does quote unquote rushing the hook states look like? That's contemporary tunneling. That is the answer. If the people in the match, the survivors in the match, are going to do the gen so fast that you can't react, you just have to take a survivor out of that game, so there's only 3 people on the map, so it's much easier to pressure them. It's much better to have 3 people spread out in gens instead of 4, and then 2, and then 1, so on and so forth. So your only option is quite literally just take somebody out of the game. Now, are you running into these matches all the time? Realistically, no. You're going to be running into a lot of pushovers, and that's why so many streamers, you know, yours truly included, have, you know, 80 to 90% win rates, is because, well, MMR is not going to always feed you those groups. But when you end up running those groups fairly commonly, it really is just a matter of people spread out on gens doing those efficiently, and the only answer really is to take somebody out right away. Now, I've always been a big supporter of fixing DS or rebuffing DS, because I think DS got too unfairly nerfed, and it is at a point where it's so weak that it doesn't even accomplish its own job of anti-tunnel. And most people that I see that are trying to avoid the tunneling situation use off the record nowadays, which even then it only buys only a little bit of time. So while it's better than current DS, it's still not really a perfect solution either. But I was always a supporter that DS should have its timer up, or I always said in a lot of React videos that the roll off the shoulder that happens when you stun the killer just happens immediately, like you immediately gain control of your survivors so you can start moving quicker. I've always pushed that for a really long time, but I think over time, like I'm thinking about how that would affect my current matches, because lately, just in the past 2 or 3 months, my matches have been closer than they've ever been. I have had more competitive matches in Dead by Daylight than I have ever had. Even the matches I win that I play very, very efficiently and make very, very few mistakes usually come down to 1 gen or all the gens done. Even in those matches that I 3 or 4K, like it's 1 gen and all the gens done. I very, very rarely get a 3 or 4K at like 3+ gens anymore. Like I can see the very, very clear slide in people's gen efficiency that even if they're losing, they're at least doing the gens. So if there was something like old DS, let's just take old DS, not old DS, but just where it deactivates off of doing conspicuous actions. If there was just one survivor that wasted a lot of my time and forced DS, and they just got to start a whole extra chase like you used to be able to, I feel like all of those matches that were close would suddenly become victories. All those matches that were close would suddenly become victories. And that's kind of like haunting in a weird way. That like gen efficiency has already gotten to a point where people have already figured out how to do the gens quick enough to, you know, outpace you. And the only thing you can do about it is tunnel, which isn't fun for them. And honestly, it isn't fun for me either. I don't really have a fun time chasing the same person over and over, especially usually the person you choose to tunnel, somebody who's not really that good at chase, so you're not having a fun chase either. So you're not really having fun. And the idea of having old DS back or something comparable in strength would just kind of like, I feel like that would just kind of start creeping us back towards the situation we had before 6.10, where it was like DS, Unbreakable, Dead Hard, and we had people just kind of forcing things to happen that shouldn't, and punishing people or punishing killers for stuff that they didn't do wrong, and winning the matches kind of easy breezy. Beautiful Culver girl. Joke. But tunneling is certainly unfun and certainly not healthy for the game. So it's not like we can just like sit there and do nothing about it, but it feels like there's already a rising problem with gen efficiency, but I also don't feel like tunneling should be the answer. So I don't really want them to tackle the tunneling issue. I just want a better solution for what do we do about the gen efficiency problem, because this is something that's like plagued Dead by Daylight for so long. The gen efficiency problem is that over time, it's whether it's like, okay, well, we nerfed toolboxes, or we nerfed brand new parts specifically, or we nerfed prove, or like the people always find a way to catch up when it comes to gen efficiency. And the answer against that has always been tunneling. So in a sense, it's weirdly like its own meta. Like we keep talking about meta shakeups. Behavior wants to shake up the meta. This has been the meta for the longest time. Gen efficiency and tunneling, they go hand in hand. So I guess the TLDR to this kind of way more ranty video is like, tunneling is out of hand because it's now more necessary than ever. And yes, tunneling is still unhealthy, but it serves as a means to an end as an answer to the problem that is gen efficiency that always crops up no matter what behavior seems to do about it. So either we need a different solution that's more fun and healthy for the game to answer to the gen efficiency problem, or the gen efficiency problem needs to be addressed and fixed in a more, you know, healthy and effective manner, and then we can finally go after the tunneling. Because I think just at this point, just taking tunneling out of the game right now would be very hazardous to the killer player base, because I feel like most of us are just having close games anyway, and that would, some people that would abuse the anti-tunneling mechanics would push the game into a very, very unfun and healthy place from the other end. So yeah, what do you guys think? How do you think about tunneling and the whole its relationship to gen efficiency? Let me know down in the comments below. But other than that, that's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching. But I do upload daily, and I will see you tomorrow. But if you do not, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.